Good evening. I'd like to call this City Council meeting to order for September 14th, and the time is approximately 6:05. Welcome, everybody. At this time, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If everybody could please stay standing, Councilor Manny Martinez will be leading us in a prayer.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Heavenly Father, we guide you today. We come to you today for your guidance, wisdom, and support. As we begin this meeting, help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, O Lord God, as we make decisions that will affect our staff and affect our community as well. And continue to remind us that all we do here today and all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of our community. We ask these things in your name, O Lord Jesus.
Amen. Thank you,
Amen.
Councilor.
And can we
If
have a
everybody could
moment?
please stay standing. We would like to do a moment of silence for a pillar of our community, one of the co-founders of La Cocina, who left quite the legacy, the mayor's loved one, Miss Emily Maestas. So we could please take a little bit of time for a moment of silence in remembrance of Miss Emily Maestas. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is for roll call, determination of a quorum.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
Present.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
Honored to be with you all.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
Present.
Counselor John Ramon Vigil, Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
Present?
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
Present.
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
Present.
Counselor Dorothy D. D. Valdez. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. I'd also like to add Mayor Javier Sanchez will not be available for the meeting tonight as he has suffered the loss in his family, and our prayers are going out to him and to Philip Maestas and their entire family. So at this time, let's move on to approval of the agenda. Councilors, if you've had an opportunity to look at the agenda.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Justin Salazar Torres, seconded by Councilor Manny Martinez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Nay, signify by the same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next item is the consent agenda, which is the August 24th, 2021 City Council meeting minutes. Councilors, if you had an opportunity to look it over.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Justin Salazar Torres, I think seconded by Councilor Denise Benavides. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comments. City Clerk, is there anybody signed up for public comments at this time?
Yes, sir. Mona Vigil.
Thank you. Miss Mona Vigil, welcome.
Appreciate you continuing to change the ordinance on this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vigil. We appreciate you coming to the meeting and of course, bringing up this very serious concern. We appreciate that. Thank you. Is there anybody else on the agenda for public comments?
Maureen C. Donnelly,
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Welcome.
Hi, I'm here to also back up Mona. There's definitely a problem with the cats. I live further down the street. I have wild pheasants that come up to my property and the cats have been chasing them and stalking them and they're killing off the wildlife. And it's just too many. I'm a pet lover, but this is excessive. Also, I wanted to bring up if it's possible for the city to write for grants. Two, one being to help eradicate the Chinese elms in the city. They're getting into the pipes and the plumbing. I'm at the moment taking care of mine, but there's, as soon as you get 5 down, there's 10 more up next year. And I know I lived in Florida and they just came through and they just eradicated, like, I think it was Brazilian peppers. You didn't even have a choice in the matter. The homeowners, they just eradicated them. So I'm hoping with the infrastructure bill, maybe you can write for that because that's part of the infrastructure problems. And the other thing is on the other side of my driveway is the open pit for the sewer. And it really smells bad. I mean, if you guys live next to it, it's just horrible. Certain times all the waste from, I think, a Wingate down, comes down West Pueblo and empties into an open pit. And I live next to it. So, and whenever I've complained, they've been very nice. They've taken care of it. They put a sanitizer in it. So it's kind of like living next to a sanitized outhouse. So if the president puts through the infrastructure bill, I just want to put it out there to maybe write for grants to redo this correctly. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I just wanted to add that I have a list here of all the animals I have trapped, all the cats I have trapped in my property and taken them to the animal shelter. And
Okay.
that I have proof that they are in my property.
Okay, is that a list like for like a copy for us for the city? Would that be a list?
Well, I got a printout from the animal shelter where I've taken them in.
Okay, if at all possible, would you be able to give it to our city manager's office that he should, or the police chief, our deputy chief actually, and they could distribute it as needed.
Okay, and the smell is really bad there because my house is close to hers and I'm taking the brunt of it.
Possibly make a copy so she could keep a copy.
John Wickersham?
Mr. Wickersham, welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, city manager. I'm here to inform you of some events that we have coming up in October. And I saw on the agenda for the resolution for the hazard pay. Just want to thank you guys for considering us, the front lines people out there, the firefighters that are actually dealing with the COVID face to face. And just thank you for considering that. Thank you, city manager, for putting that on the agenda. So August 27th, we held a boot drive at the corner of Riverside and Fairview. August 27th was a boot drive to raise money for our benevolent fund. We raised over $3,000. I just want to thank the community. They're always supporting us. That benevolent fund goes to help the community. We give bikes out throughout the year, dinners, Thanksgiving, Christmas dinners. We gave one of our members, his son had cancer. He was actually a Santa Fe County firefighter, but we gave him $1,000 last year. So that money just goes back to the community and back to people that need it. So I want to thank the community for their support for that. So October is a breast cancer awareness month. It's our 10th year selling breast cancer shirts and raising money to give back to the community. This year, since it is our 10th year anniversary, we got well-known artist Toby Morphine to design the shirt this year. So really excited about that. And we think we're gonna have a record sale with breast cancer shirts so we can give back to people in need, cancer patients and people that are in need. So that's in October. Actually, let's see, October 2nd is Firefighter for a Day up in Los Alamos. So I'd like to thank Los Alamos Fire for inviting us. They invited 3 community leaders from Espanola. It's an event that Los Alamos Fire puts on for their community leaders and their firefighters for a day. They walk in our shoes, they go into a burn building, They go do extrication, they do hazmat. It's an all-day event. So I do have the mayor and some counselors going to go to that event, and we're really excited about that. That's October 2nd. October 3rd, we're doing a block party with Lowe's Home Improvement. It's our third annual smoke detector giveaway. So October 3rd, if you're in need of a smoke detector, come out to our event. It's 11 to 3 at Lowe's Home Improvement. And it's going to be a block party. We have all the community local businesses involved, and they're going to be out there supporting us as well for Fire Prevention Week. And that's October 3rd through the 6th, I believe, is Fire Prevention Week. And we'll be in the schools for Fire Prevention Week, Red Ribbon Week, and also the library October 6th with the fire trucks to show the kids. So October is pretty busy. October 16th, we have an annual softball tournament. It's our third annual softball tournament. We have the girls Espanola High School softball team coming out to run this concession to give back to them. So any money that they raise will go back to them. And that also will be for breast cancer awareness. And t-shirts will be sold that day, October 16th at the industrial park. And that's co-sponsored by the city. Rack Stop and Project Race, they always come out and support us at our events. So I'd like to thank them for their involvement and the city of Espanola. Last but not least, last week I was interviewed by Let's Roll. It's a cable TV station, KAZQ 32. And it's a Christian station, but it was for the Safe Haven Initiative. And so we're getting statewide awareness on that, which is awesome. That'll air sometime this week. I think tomorrow will be the first airing of it. And it's 2 10-minute segments. And it's for Safe Haven and just what we're doing here in the city to raise awareness. So I appreciate it, you guys. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Wickersham. In fact, we look forward to looking for that. We appreciate that. Also, thank you for your hard work, that of the fire department union, and of course the fire department as a whole. I think Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez.
I just wanted to reiterate what you said, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you very much for the initiatives that you have moving forward. And just a question concerning Safe Haven, and when is the anticipation for that to come into fruition?
I'm hoping anytime soon. I talked to the city lawyer, I think it was last council meeting, and he said he's working on a lease agreement with Safe Haven Baby Boxes. And so hopefully the city manager maybe can update me more on that, but hopefully soon. They said they're working on it. So, and we're getting statewide recognition on this initiative. And this is the second time I've been interviewed on TV for this initiative, and it's good for the city of Espanola and for our community. I think it'll save lives. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, is there anybody else for public comments?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Councillor committee chair updates and councillor comments. Anybody from the council have any comments? Councillor Justin Salazar Torres, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to give an update regarding the Public Safety Committee meeting. I want to say this is probably our most lengty agenda that we've had for public safety in quite a while. But if you'll indulge me just for a few minutes, I have a few bullet points and all this chicken scratch that I have from our meeting that we went over. And a few things on there were that I placed on the agenda were the fertile cat colonies ordinance situation that we are discussing. That is currently illegal, and we are having all eyes look at it just so we make sure we approach the situation correctly. The next thing on here that we had spoke about during our Public Safety Committee was the Please Help Don't Give initiative, and Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez has an item on our agenda regarding that coming up. We spoke, we gave an update. I have a committee that's working on obtaining some more officers for our city. We had asked for an update regarding the Monterrey situation, Lane, regarding the homeless situation that was going on there. We addressed the concerns that were being reached out via Facebook regarding the pothole on South McCurdy. I believe that was taken care of. we also brought up, and Honorable City Manager will correct me if I'm wrong, speed bumps or some speed deterrents on North Railroad Avenue, especially around the park where the kiddos the parents park and they cross the street right there off of Railroad. There is some horrendous speeding that's going on there, and I would hate to see a family be taken out by one of these drivers that basically don't care. We spoke about working on a biohazard littering ordinance, especially around the parks, because we do have a lot of needles and so forth, especially around the city, but more so at the parks. And we spoke about that. I just want to make sure I'm working on currently and coordinating a workshop with the stakeholders of Rio Arriba County and Santa Fe County to meet with the Public Safety Committee, just so we can pass some ideas back and forth and see what we can do just to get more public safety out there. Let me see what else I've got on here. The only other thing that, I would recommend, and I will reiterate this, I reiterated it for the committee meeting, but I want to say to full council, I heard concerns during our last city council meeting, and this is with all due respect, but nobody ever reached out to me as the chair of public safety to bring these things up for discussion and to edit, for example, an ordinance as such for the problems that you're having. And I took it upon myself to place it on this agenda. So I do encourage fellow counselors, staff members, anybody that's got an issue or something that pertains to public safety. I do not mind taking it upon myself to place it on the agenda, but I believe that if we are approached personally regarding situations, please let's get this done and let's get this taken care of. I think that's why we had such a lengthy agenda, but we are working very hard, and I do appreciate our Public Safety Committee. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Manny Martinez, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. We haven't had we don't have our community services meeting till next week, so I won't be able to give you an update on community services till the next following meeting. But I do just want to, I have a few questions for the city manager, and perhaps he can answer them when it's the matters from the city manager. One of them actually was already asked by Councilor Martinez on the safe haven. I'm going to keep asking this question till we get that box placed, when we're going to get those boxes in and placed for the safe haven for the fire department. Also, I just want to see if we have a timeline yet on the 76 line extension to see what's going on there. Also, I was asked to see if we could do something at Zuni Lane. That's the road off of McCurdy that heads towards the old entrance into Fairview Elementary. I guess right now there's no lines or markings on the road as far as which part is parking and where's the road at. So a lot of people are actually passing through parking areas next to people's homes, speeding through that area. And so a lot of the residents there are concerned when it comes to safety. They did ask me about possibly speed bumps. I did tell them that they did need to at least draw up a petition with the residents that do live there and contact our city manager. But I'd like to see what we can do as far as lining out that road. Perhaps that might help, at least with passing on non-passing areas, if possible. And also, I just wanted to bring up, I know that before the pandemic, we were in talks with the state highway department about working on South McCurdy Road. And I just wanted to see if we have been able to continue those talks and see if we can do something to, if not fix the road, to at least resurface that whole road from the church all the way to Fairview Lane, sir. So I just wanted to bring up those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. City Manager Martinez, you got that down for the city manager comments? Great. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else from the council with any comments at this time? Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Salazar. I want to just reiterate what Justin Torres Salazar was discussing concerning the public safety meeting. it was a long meeting, but I felt like it was very productive and I felt like we were addressing some situations that are frustrating our constituency in districts 4 and districts 2, and probably throughout the community concerning panhandling, concerning the squatting of people and properties that don't belong to them, and all the issues that are difficult to discuss, but we as a council need to address, and we also need to find solutions. So I felt like it was a very positive meeting, and I want to continue to forge ahead and put these things on the agenda. I'm hopeful that the community service will put the red ribbon pledge cards on the agenda. Councilor Martinez. There's 3,200 students in the Espanola Public Schools that can use that pledge card, especially this year, because the Espanola Public Schools are not allowing anybody to go into the schools to do any kind of drug presentation or anti-drug presentations to our students this year. So that pledge card is something that becomes even much more important to the students, because it reminds them that the city of Espanola is vested in their drug-free lives and that we care about what's going on with them. I would also like to add McCurdy to that list, and the private schools, The Rock and Victory Faith. So I would say that if we ordered 4,000 cards, I think the cost is pretty close to $400. I think that's a viable investment for the city. I really want to do this, so I hope we could put that on the agenda, Councilor Martinez, on community services. And just again, reiterate that the Public Safety Committee is forging ahead and dealing with a lot of situations that are very difficult to deal with, but we're looking for solutions. And I commit myself and the committee to continue to work hard. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilor. I think Councilor Manny Martinez may have a response. Go ahead, Councilor Manny Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilor Martinez, I am contacting Mr. Maestas right now so that we can place it on our agenda, so we can make sure we can get those cards printed.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Anybody else? Councilor John Ritchie, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to give a quick update on regarding North Central Solid Waste. We've made an investment on a couple trucks, and we have alleviated some of the issues within the city. We've been more consistent in our pickup. If you still have if we're missing an area, please give a call to the office at North Central and we will get out there. That's all. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilor comments? Okay, seeing none, let's move on the agenda. Next item is matters from the mayor. As far as Mayor Pro Tem, I don't have anything at this time, but I would like to turn the floor over to Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez. Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez took the initiative to honor our Blue Star mothers. So we will be doing a proclamation. I am respectfully asking Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez to read the proclamation and talk about it. Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you to Mayor Javier Sanchez for putting this proclamation together. Thank you to the staff in the clerk's office for this. We certainly appreciate all your efforts. You know, I had a conversation with Ms. Norma Herrera concerning something that is happening with Blue Star Mothers. They've been with an organization for 13 years. 13 years, sending packages to all service members from this community and the surrounding area twice a year. This group of people that have been in charge of it have burned out. They're tired, and they've decided to discontinue. And my hope was, by doing this proclamation, that somebody in our community will realize the importance of that they're doing and continue, or that the city of Espanola themselves would think about adopting the group itself and look for volunteers to continue that service to the service members of our community. So the proclamation, it says, Official proclamation of the city of Espanola, New Mexico, USA. Whereas Blue Star Mothers have been a devoted and respectable group for generations, the city of Espanola would like to honor and recognize the history and the impact of these incredible mothers have made throughout their history. Whereas on January 22nd, 1942, a simple coupon asking mothers for those who had their children serving would be the catalyst to create a group that continues to thrive this very day. And whereas in June of 1960, 19 chapters would be created and the organization would become chartered by June 1960, with chapters being created state by state throughout the United States of America and right here in the home of the Rio Grande Valley. And whereas the city of Espanola would like to recognize the Blue Star Mothers of America for bringing support to all mothers, grandmothers, foster mothers, legal guardians who have children serving in the military, guard, reserve, and even those who are veterans. And whereas the Blue Star Mothers of America has made it their mission to provide support to each other and to their children while promoting patriotism, it has also been the organization's mission to never ever forsake our troops, our veterans, or our families of our fallen heroes. And whereas it is the belief in which we stand as a community firmly, the Blue Star Mothers, for all that they do, and extend our gratitude not only for those who serve and protect our nation, but for those who bless us with their strong patriotic children. Therefore, I, Javier Sanchez, along with the City Council, do hereby proclaim September 14th, 2021 as the City of Espanola, New Mexico, USA Blue Star Mothers Appreciation Day. And we have two of them in the house. If you could please come to the podium and
Well, we just wanted to say thank you so much to not only you all, but to the whole Espanola Valley, all our surrounding small villages and cities across this part of the northern New Mexico. We have had a lot of support throughout the years. We've had a lot of support from this organization. That it's a pin that we get from you all of our city that goes into the boxes, and very well liked by all of our soldiers and our military that have received the boxes, plus other things that we've received from you all as well. We also want to say thank you to La Cocina for and their owners for allowing us to set up there. For the sun, every box had a sun in our boxes, so they knew what was going on here in the valley. We also had a magazine, the New Mexico Magazine. We had a dentist out of Santa Fe that was supporting us every single time with all the dentistry. We've had a lot of people here from the valley that have supported us with donations and so forth. And we're just very thankful for all the successes that we've had throughout the years. Many of us, Peggy has helped us out with the boxes as well, so she knows what it takes to put all those boxes together. And it's a community effort. And we've had a lot of our youngsters that have helped us as well. Girl Scouts, 4-H clubs, youth groups from the churches and so forth that have helped. And they get to understand what it is to be patriotic and to be respectful of our flag, because they get to fold flags, and we teach them about how to be respectful. We have gone to the schools and also presented there. We've had people that have, members that have gone to present, and a lot of the schools also did the Christmas and summer messages to the soldiers and and the military folks that we send to. Because it's not just soldiers, it's the Navy, it's the Marines, it's everybody that we send to all over this world. It's amazing how many places they are and they are deployed to. So we are very thankful in that respect. So we have been in these positions for a long time. However, for the most part, for the officers that are stepping down, we have elderly folks that, moms and dads that need our help, and family members that need our help. And so they take precedence over what we're doing right now. So hopefully somebody will step up and we'd be glad to help them get that going on again. But for right now, we've stepped down the organization and hoping that and praying that it'll happen again sometime soon. We do want to say that we do have two other organizations in New Mexico, one in Farmington and one in Albuquerque, that we can continue to support our troops here in the Valley by supporting them and allowing them to build the boxes that will help them with donations and so forth. So some of us will be members of those particular organizations, and we'll be still coming to you for more help and that sort of thing. But I think the people of the Valley are willing to help us all support our military and all the wonderful things that they do for us. Because without them, we wouldn't have a free country. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Manny Martinez is requesting if we can get your contact information, possibly give it to our city clerk's office. That way, through the committee process, through our community services committee, we could continue discussions with you if at all possible. We appreciate that. Also, thank you all for all you have done and all you continue to do for our soldiers. In turn, this helps to re-energize them, to help to protect all of us. So it's just simply amazing what you all have done and continue to do, and the involvement as well. So wholeheartedly from our entire city of Espanola and our governing body, thank you so much. We really appreciate all you do. Is there any other counselors? Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez, go ahead. ma'am.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention who spoke. I don't know if you mentioned who you were. So her name is Marilyn Peabody, been volunteering with this organization for all of those years, and with her is Norma Herrera. And along with them, there's a lot of different volunteers that come, and it's not a process that would happen without that many volunteers. It's sort of chaotic madness, perfection. That's the only thing that I can say how it's done. They have it down to an art, and it gets done relatively quickly considering everything. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the McCurdy mission and how they have been so generous in allowing for the organization to work out of their building, to help in any way that they could during the whole time you guys were there. And I'm hopeful that whoever takes this over, and I'm hopeful that we will get somebody to take this over, whoever takes this over will have that opportunity to still use McCurdy and still work out of that area and continue as much as the same as you guys created, because what you have done has worked. And I think when you're doing something that works, I think it's important to reciprocate it and to continue it. So I'm hopeful that we can have somebody step up and have an organization here in Espanola. It would be a shame to have to send all our stuff to Farmington to send it out. So, we'll keep this at the helm, and we'll keep mentioning it in our meetings and do whatever we can to spread the word and see if we can't find somebody with a little bit of time on their hands that's willing to do community service for this organization. So thank you both so much for being here, and thank Mayor Javier Sanchez, and thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for allowing me to read that. It was an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I appreciate that. Councilor Manny Martinez, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Martinez hit the nail right on the head right there with everything she stated. This is an organization we have to keep going. It's not a matter of we'd like. I think it's something we have to. We have so many soldiers that are in our community, in our area, that we must show them how much we appreciate what they're doing and what they do, not just for our community, but what they do for this whole United States. And we need to honor them and show them with as much support as we can give them, and show them that how much we do care So I've got in contact already with Mr. Maestas. We are going to add this to our agenda, and we're going to see what we can do as a city and see what we can do to make sure that this thing does not stop right here, but continues. And I know with the support of these great ladies that I know that this will flourish, because this is a very important organization that must continue. It must continue for these soldiers. They need to really know how much we appreciate them. And this is a small way that we can do that. And so we're going to find a way, one way or another. We will find a way to get this going. Thank you, sir.
Counselor.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Any other counselor comments at this time? Okay, hearing none. Again, thank you. This is just a small token of our appreciation for all you do. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next agenda item is matters from the city manager. City Manager Javier Martinez, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Denison Salazar, members of the governing body. Councilor Manny Martinez, so I will go ahead and start off with some of the concerns and issues that you brought up. Number one was the update on the safe haven boxes with the fire department and firefighter Wickersham. Also, I will address you as well. I've been in talking with our legal team. They have just one concern in regards to the box and the lease agreement, that the lease agreement does not guarantee or warranty the sufficient operation of the box. That's one of the big issues they're working on. So if the box does not work or fails, they're not responsible. So I believe Nancy Long is currently in negotiations with this organization to clarify and move forward on that. So that's the latest that we have on that one. Councilor Manny, you also requested, if I'm not mistaken, the update on State Road 76. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So members of the governing body, so not last week, but the week before, we had a meeting with our engineer on record for this project, which was Wilson and Company and New Mexico Environmental Department that provides the funding source. Our contractor submitted a pretty large change order of $1.2 million to this project. Now, we did increase the funding to a total of $2 million, but this even exceeds the $2 million mark on that. So when we get a large change order like that, of course, it brings a lot of questions. But there was no clarification, no room for negotiation. So our engineers on contract did research their change order and found a few mathematical errors and some discrepancies, and it looked like that we were being overcharged by a little over $200K. We brought it up to the attention of the contractor. They were not willing to negotiate or change any of this. So it was a mutual agreement and also an agreement between NMED, our contractors, and the city to go ahead and terminate this contract and go out to rebid. So right now we're waiting for our contractor to submit their final invoice to pay them out for any expense they have incurred up to this point and go back out to rebid. And so Mr. Martinez, Councilor Martinez, I also will look into Zuni Lane in regards to the striping. I will get with the streets department to follow up on that. And on South McCurdy Lane, I have not got any updates in regard from NMDOT in regards to any startup time or any plans specifically for South McCurdy, but I will follow up. I know I'm currently in communication with, funny to say, Mr. Javier Martinez with NMDOT in regards to the OHV ordinance and application as well. So we're, as a matter of, we had a conversation today on that. So so I have on that. So lastly, I'll go ahead and say, I know there's some, I had a report there for you for your viewing pleasure, and I'll open up to questions here in a bit, but I want to end on my report with good news. So the nitrate filtration system has finally been set up and operational at well number 7, which is the well located at Ranchitos Park. So as all of you know, a year and a half, close to 2 years ago, the city was deemed by the environmental department on our nitrate levels being a little bit too high in accordance to EPA standards. So when we test the well at the well itself, we are getting 19 counts per million of nitrates. EPA standards cannot exceed 10 points per million. So that's why we blend with another well to dilute, I guess, if you will, these nitrates so it can be drinkable and consumed by the public. After we installed this nitrate filtration system at the well, we have been dropped down to 5 points per million on that. So it's very well. So we're gone to 5 and EPA standard is 10. So that's a good news on our end. The only thing, it's a little pricey to run that. So we are, our water department is dumping 2,400 pounds of salt into that system a day. This is going to increase the cost to keep that water clean, an average of $120,000 a year. So with that said, I open it up to any questions from the governing body.
Thank you, City Manager Martinez. Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. So jaw dropped concerning the State Road 76 project and going out to rebid. Timeline for that, and is the funding source amicable to extending itself as far as the time goes?
Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez, those are good questions. So we've been in very close communication with NMED, which is our funding source. It was a unanimous decision to cut ties with our contractor, and the funding is still there. I believe that we have pretty good timing to keep that funding. The main thing is that we're waiting for the contractor to submit their final invoice to terminate the contract.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilor comments at this time?
I just wanted to update on the off-road vehicles also. Did you touch base on that?
Yes, Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez. So as I mentioned, I spoke as of today with Javier Martinez with Department of Transportation District 5 on submitting the application. So I did send him all the information as of today. I believe the Transportation Commission meets the first week of November to hear this item.
Thank you. So only one more item that I have a concern. I did touch base with DC concerning Carr Lane and some of the situation that is happening there. And I probably like an opportunity for him to discuss it. I was called this week twice concerning the trash that's back behind the Dollar Tree area. And today I got called telling me there were 2 shopping baskets in the road and that there was trash spewing all over the place. So 2 issues that I'm concerned with there is the homelessness and the squatting that's happening behind the Walmart area and the lot that we originally cleaned. It seems like they've reestablished themselves to that lot, so that's very concerning. The second thing deals with the amount of trash that's all around that area and how it's such a busy area and it identifies a major part of our community. It's sort of embarrassing. So I did touch base with Councilor John Ritchie before the meeting concerning the ordinance of having businesses have their storage trash locked up. That originally started up there with 2 gates on that trash bin, and through the time, it hasn't been that long since that business was there, but all of a sudden those gates are gone and it seemed like there's a free for all going on in the trash there, and some of it's inside the bin and most of it's outside the bin. And that's also where John picked up the couch this last weekend. So it's a problem. We need to look at the ordinances concerning the businesses' responsibility to keeping their trash bins closed up so that people who are not from our community don't encumber our constituents with the cost of their trash. And the other thing is keeping it closed up so that the only people that have access to that are the people that throw their trash from the business legitimately or the people that pick it up legitimately. Other than that, there should not be all this trash in this area. So those are 2 things that concern me. And then I'll yield the floor to DC so he can discuss how his hands are a little tied because the property doesn't belong to the city where that's being squatted. So if you could touch base on that, DC.
Deputy Chief Jack Jones, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, we're looking at, we've been over there several times, and that area that we have right there is part of what the OK Wingate Reservation is. And we try to make contact with the sheriff from OK Wingate and the chief of police so we can talk about working trespass issues with them at that point in time. It's not city property, so we have to go the extra mile to try to extricate them from that property.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that the public understands that that's the reason that it's an issue and we're not able to trespass anybody ourselves because it's the legal owner belongs to Okewinga.
Right.
So I appreciate that information. And then maybe we could touch base on the trash truck.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez. Next up, we have Councilor Manny Martinez and then Councilor John Ritchie and then Councilor Denise Benavides. So go ahead, Councilor Manny Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. City Manager Martinez, on that timeline, do we have for 76? Did we give them a time frame of how soon they have to give us that invoice so that we can start this process of rebidding the workout? And also, is that going to be an issue with the paving? Because I know that they stopped the paving for that portion of 76 so that this line extension could be put in. And then I believe the plan was that they were going to come back and repave that area. Is that going to be an issue now that it's been pushed back a little bit further, sir?
Yes, Councilor Manny Martinez, those are great questions. Thank you. So we reached out to the contractor 2 weeks ago, and we try to make contact again this week, or as a matter of fact, today, try to meet with no contact. I will proceed with legal to see what our options are on this, to continue the RFP process. But right now, we want to make sure that we get that invoice from the contractor so we can close out with no issues, because our termination contract does state that they agree that the contractor has been paid in full for any services rendered. So in order for them to sign the termination contract, we do have to pay them in full. But as of today, no contact has been made. And I'll follow up to see if there's a deadline on when we can proceed. But once we get that, we'll proceed to RFP, put it out for a 15-day notice with our procurement officer and move forward. And no, it's not going to be an issue, with the paving project. So when the contract, that's part of the scope of work, is they repave with new pavement when they dig up that area. So right now with NMDOT, that was last minute funding that needed to be spent. So I don't know if they're going to hold that funding that was reserved for that partial of payment. So I'd have to get with NMDOT to see if they didn't use it elsewhere.
Thank you, sir. On a follow-up, could we include some of this conversation that we have here, especially when it comes to the squatting, and also let's have 76? Can we put that on when we do coffee break on KVC, so that we can at least keep the general public informed via radio, so that they are aware that that project has been delayed for a certain reason, and also what's going on with the squatting in that area. So that way people are aware that the city is working on it, but these are the bumps that we run into, sir.
Absolutely. I've made a note of it.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Councilor John Ritchie, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Actually, question back to you, sir. If under Public Works, if you can request a copy of the ordinance regarding construction for the requirements of receptacles, business receptacles of the confines, if it's requiring doors, and if not, that we can update that, so if we can review that and bring that forth, because that will help if we can get those locked. Again, unfortunately though, even if they're closed, people are just gonna throw it over. But if we can deter it and also prevent the blight that it causes with them being exposed. And so if we can look at that. And I'll also be discussing with North Central of what we can do when we're dumping, if we can start working in these areas and when we're picking up the cans, that if we can help clean those areas out at the time and make that kind of effort. So I'll look into that.
Good point made. In fact, through the Public Works, we will, begin to work on that and see what
Thank
what
you,
we can
sir.
find. Thank you. Next up, we have Counselor Denise Benavides.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a couple of things for me, in addition to the trash dumping issue, which it is an issue. In talking to some of the neighbors in my area, or certainly in my district, I drove around today and had conversations with a few of them that happen to have all kinds of junk, which they call they're being stored in their front yards because they don't either have the ability to take them somewhere, don't know where to take them, or, just have issues with that. So if we could somehow address that, and some of these are your larger items, such as, I went to one and there was a couch, a file cabinet, an old air conditioner right in the front yard. And, they think that they'll get picked up. And of course, those larger items do not. So if maybe we could come up with some sort of plan, city manager, to either decide what we can do to help residents with those issues. A lot of them are seniors and just need some assistance in picking some of those items up or being educated as to what to do when they have those types of items versus setting them out in their front yards. And then secondly, just a quick update. I did see that you had an update for us with Mesero and US Bank. If you could just touch a little bit on that, if you spoke to, I know Rio Arriba County, I believe, uses Wells Fargo. I don't know how their fees were, if they were larger, and just how soon we plan to put that into place so that we can start getting a return on our investment. So just an update on that, if you would, please.
Thank
Yes.
you. Counselor, go ahead, City Manager.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar, members of the governing body, Councilor Denise Benavides. Yeah, so I did speak with Mesro. So it's not in Mesro's hands right now. That's the holdup. We're trying to find a proper custodial account holder that will allow us to use them to be able to put the money in there and have Mesro do the transactions through there. As I had mentioned a couple of weeks back, we tried looking and going with Century Bank, but their basis points were a little bit too high for us. So we did reach out to US Bank. We actually met with them this morning. They weren't much better. I think they offered us 37 basis points just to do the custodial account. So we're gonna, on Friday, we have another meeting with CIBC, which they claim that they offer 8 basis points to run their custodial account. So I think that looks the most promising one. And then I'm waiting for also Mesro to send me the agreement to proceed on that. But I think that's the main holdup, is trying to find a business that will provide us a good custodial account to be able to proceed.
Thank you. Did we happen to chat with Wells Fargo, since that's who Rio Arriba uses, and see what kind of fees they have?
Not as of yet, ma'am. We're like right now, this basis points with CIBC looks to be promising, but once we have that meeting, we can look up to Wells Fargo as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Counselor Justin Salazar Torres, and then we'll go back to Counselor Manny Martinez. Go ahead, Counselor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem. So I can scratch off the requiring locks ordinance for dumpsters that we were working on public safety, and we'll turn that into you then.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, that's
just want to make sure.
Okay.
One item off my list.
20 to go. Okay, Counselor, is that all you have, sir? Okay, thank you. Counselor Manny Martinez, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to mention on that with the illegal trash dumping, that maybe it's time to look at our city ordinance on littering and see if we need to raise the bar on that fines, and perhaps add plus community service. Maybe if some of these people have to pick up trash for a weekend or two, they might consider not throwing the trash. And that might be a help, and maybe possibility of placing some sort of stickers or large signs that can stick to the trash barrels, letting them know that there is a fine if caught littering or throwing trash not into the wrong bin, sir. I'm not sure if that would be through your committee as well, through Public Works,
That may be a
or if we can do that
possibility.
through Community Services.
You know what? Let me verify on my side, and then at that point, maybe we could touch base to kind of determine, but I'm kind of thinking it may be Public Works, but possibly even through both committees, if anything, but yeah, let me look on my side, and then at that point, I could touch base with you if that works.
That works with me, sir. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other councilor comments? Councilor Didi Valdez, you have the floor, ma'am.
Yes, I know that the city gives out dump tickets so that the residents can go throw their trash, whatever. What if we offer like free dumping days? And perhaps the people that do not have those tickets will take the time, to take it to a location, whether it be the water tanks or whatever. So maybe if they have a free dumping day, they can just drive it to the dump themselves.
Thank you for your comments, Councilor. I do know in the past, I think this used to be, and I also do know the city has these dumping pass, but many of our residents do not pick up the passes. So I know there's, a lot left over, but I'm not sure, like Councilor John Ritchie, maybe you have some more information. Go ahead, sir.
We have, for the city, we have 4 cards a year for seasonal for dumping. So all they have to do is come to the city hall and they can request their cards, 4 cards per year. So they can go to a call day 4 times a year with brush or whatever the items. And if they're in question of what they can't dump, or if they can dump it, they can call North Central and they'll give them guidelines on what they can or can't dump.
And it's also behind the card. It helped me a lot on the punch card. It says what you can and cannot throw.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next up, Councilor Denise Benavides and then Councilor Manny Martinez. Go ahead, Councilor Benavides.
Thank you. Just for follow-up, and I kind of just want to ask Counselor Ritchie this question. I know in my area, there's a couple of seniors and they don't have a truck. They don't have, assistance to be able to dump some of this stuff they currently have out in their yard currently. And would it be a possibility maybe for North Central to think about for a certain fee? Because I think they can afford a fee. They just don't have the ability for someone to come and assist them to take the stuff. I don't know if that'd be a possibility down the line where maybe North Central could charge a fee, but actually come and pick up. They could schedule, to come and pick up some of those items.
Counselor, if there is an elderly person that is in need, if they reach out to North Central, they would be able to assist them if they call and make arrangements. Right now, we don't have a fee for that, but in those special needs, we would assist.
Okay, great. I just didn't want to tell them that before kind of checking first. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Councilor Manny Martinez and then Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez. Go ahead, Councilor Manny Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to kind of chime in on this. I have seen in other communities, namely I've seen it in the Poake area where they will place those large construction containers, those big metal ones that are the size of a train car, in certain areas, and they allow them to place anything in there that needs to be thrown for a period of time, like a week, 2 weeks, or until it's full, and then they haul it out. They do that roughly about 2-3 times a year. I don't know if this is something that perhaps going with what Councilor Valdez was stating, that we could put where maybe a few times a year we could put these carts out. Again, like she's mentioned, to the wells or in certain areas, of course, where they're not visible right away, but maybe that would help to deter some of the trash that's just being thrown. Especially since I'm sure that a lot of this trash that's coming to these trash bins aren't people from the city as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez, you have the floor,
Thank
ma'am.
you. I just wanted to communicate with Counselor Denise Benavides concerning, she said her neighbor had an air conditioner that was probably gonna go to the dump. And the Habitat for here in Espanola will actually pick up those kinds of items and recycle them and make them usable for somebody else in our community. So they might want to reach out to Habitat and ask them to go ahead and pick that up, and they'll make arrangements to go get it from them. So it doesn't land up in a landfill either. And always remember that the city of Espanola pays by the pound, correct? We pay by the pound whenever there's trash that comes out of this community. So one of the things that I wish we could do is create a metal bin where metals are put in there so that the city of Espanola can resell that metal and it doesn't land up in a landfill somewhere and taking hundreds of years to disintegrate. So that's something that I would like to see is us have a metal bin where only metal objects can get thrown in that bin. And it becomes something that the city of Espanola could probably utilize a small fund from that to reinvest in the trash situation in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Anybody else at this time? Going once, twice? Okay. So, okay, let's move on. Thank you, City Manager, for your update. Next is business with visitors. We have Mr. Santiago Madrid with city property concerns. Mr. Madrid, welcome, sir. At this time, Mr. Madrid has brought some photos that I'm going to pass on to the governing body. We could all take a look at it while Mr. Madrid speaks.
Our concern, we're neighbors to at the well site. I don't know what number it is. I don't know what number well site is, but it's on La Jolla Street. We live at 1136 La Jolla next door. And our property is bought up, so, but I brought forth this proposal for you to enjoy because it's something that makes you think. I try to make it where you can think about what's going on. We're interested in having a retaining wall and with a fence on top be placed on the common property line between us and you guys. Okay, the city seemed to have neglected a few things about the wall that should have been there since the well was funded when it first started. I don't know how or what kind of budgeting they made or how the well didn't include the well site didn't include a wall. I really don't know how that happened. But it's not for me to question very, very much. The proposal just asks for a wall with a fence atop. And it lists some of the concerns that we've had. And I say some because there are a lot of other concerns. But basically, the concerns that are listed here deal with, the concerns that are listed here deal with the fence being atop the wall that we suggest be placed there, simply because of security. Okay, people walking around and strangers looking into our property from your property, from the city property, driving cars up there at night, making noise, and shining lights into our windows. The neighbors, they all seem to, appreciate what you guys try to do with the well. We don't know how functional it is. I understand it has some nitrate problems and that the tank hasn't been used for 15 years or so. I don't know how good it is anymore because it expands and contracts. And I'm not sure that that you're going to find, I mean, I kind of think that you're going to find to get it to the point where it can be used for water anymore for us to drink. May take some doing because it's been empty. In empty stage, right, nothing keeps it from expanding and contracting. If you had water in there, why then it would be stable more or less. But that's another matter. This is something that you guys should be aware of, but it's not pertaining to this, what I'm asking for, or we're asking for. We're asking for security, that things should be fenced. We're also asking that the site seems to be used as a full industrial place where anything goes, I guess, in full industrial place. But the site is in a residential area. And things like dust, traffic of big loaded trucks. In fact, I don't know how you guys can manage to have a street like La Jolla carry weighted trucks very, very much, you know. You really should probably keep from doing it because La Jolla Street has problems. It's had problems all along. They try to fix it and some will sit. So it comes to having potholes and this and that. Well, you've done a good job, but you keep with loaded trucks and that, heavy loaded, you're gonna destroy it again. Okay? So yeah, piles of dirt don't look too good. Then when they set the tank, I could see that base course should have been placed under it because it's a very good supporting thing, okay? That is used basically for support for, say, sewer lines or support for streets, or support for highways. Yes, but for topsoil, it's not very good because it blows away and creates dust for the vicinity. Especially when the trucks and cars run around there speeding and whatever. That doesn't help. So yeah, here I am crying about things. I guess you could say that, you know, that's the way we think of it, no? No, really, basically, I'm trying to have you guys look at what's going on over there and just see if we can possibly do something about a wall we needed. Item 6 is on this paper, brings out the fact that things for years have occurred, like runoff from the berm that used to be there. I consider the berm, hey, they're negligent, you know, they haven't done very much. They're negligent. That's okay. It's not hurting them very much. But here we have a couple of rains lately, right after they took the berm away. And you can tell on those pictures that you see before you, there are all kinds of scars. That only means that dirt and rocks and whatever debris comes over is going onto our property. And it has for years. Okay. So the wall is dearly needed. And that's the reason I'm here. Okay. Any questions?
Is there any questions from the council at this time? I don't think so at this time. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Councilors. Justin Salazar Torres, you have the floor.
I would ask that this concern be placed on, I would say probably Public Works Committee, just so this doesn't go by the wayside either. That way we have accountability and our constituents know that we're working on.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Mr. Madrid did come before our Public Works Committee this last time in reference to business with visitors, but the direction is to follow up, so we definitely will be
Perfect.
following up on it.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, thank you. Mr. Madrid, thank you as well for joining us and speaking towards your concerns at this meeting. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is items proposed for council consideration. First item is consideration of approval of purchase of animal control unit. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I missed somebody. Who do we got? Okay, Councilor Manny Martinez. I apologize. Go ahead, sir. Oh, I see Denise as well. Councilor Manny Martinez and then Councilor Denise Benavides. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I also had brought this possibility that we would be able to use some of this property next to that well, because it's a pretty large piece of property with a small area being utilized for the well. And I can understand where Mr. Madrid is talking about, because although the well is secured, the rest of the property isn't. And that's, I believe, where those vehicles are able to go in there, park late at night, or do donuts or whatever they may be doing in that area. But I did bring it up at our public safety meeting of the possibility of putting maybe a satellite office for the city police, with the possibility of collaborating with Santa Fe County, being that it's Santa Fe County area, to where if we were able to put a satellite station there, that would also be a police presence for that area of the city as well. So I would like to see if maybe we can do something on that initiative, or at least look into it and see if it's a possibility.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Denise Benavides, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. I was just going to add that it was discussed in Public Works, and some of the things that were agreed to was some signage, so they locking the area so they can't get in there. But Councilor Martinez did talk to me sometime back about a substation there, and I thought it was a brilliant idea. And actually, I mentioned it to Santa Fe County. Santa Fe County would actually like to put it in the public, across the street in the public facility that they own, the apartment complex there. They thought it would be great to have it there and allow Santa Fe Sheriff's and Espanola Police Department to share. And also because that whole area is getting revamped this next coming year. And because the Boys and Girls Club is there, they thought that it would be nice to be able to have collaboration between officers and Boys and Girls Club. So hopefully that's something that will get done. They're thinking of just a quick, not large, huge building, but something that is cost effective that can be shared. And I did drive by there today, and it did look like Mr. Madrid will know that they did take down the piles of base course, at least one of the larger piles. So I know that Public Works is working to resolve the issue. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for the update, ma'am. Okay, next, is there anybody else by chance? Okay, thank you. Okay, hearing none. Okay, now we're going to move on to items proposed for council consideration. First up is our consideration of approval of purchase of animal control unit using DPS 124 fund in the amount of $45,183. We have our Deputy Chief Jack Jones here to present. Welcome, Deputy Chief Jones.
Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar, honorable council members, I humbly come before you to ask that you approve this amount of money to spend for the animal control unit. The animal control unit that we're driving now is better than 20 years old. This is a 4-door Ford, and it will come with all the necessary requirements for an animal control unit, to include the capture cage on the back and all the accoutrements that he needs. So we humbly ask that you approve this.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
Okay, everybody.
Honorable
motion-
council members, thank you all very much for the opportunity. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We got Counselor Justin Salazar Torres with a motion, seconded by Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
I think that was motion by Justin Torres, second by everybody.
Yes, that's correct. Seconded by everybody is right. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Next item is RFP 2022-1. Attorney Services for Water Rights, Evaluation Report and Recommendation to Award a Contract to Stein and Brockman, presented by our Procurement Officer, Asset Manager Josephine Velasquez. Welcome, Ms. Velasquez.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the governing body. This RFP is it's a term of 2 years, and we're proposing to award to Stein and Brockman. And they also contract with Glorieta Geoscience. So I stand for any questions.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
Motion's been made by Counselor Justin Salazar Torres, seconded by Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez. Any discussion?
Under discussion, first of all, I'd like to,
Go ahead,
Sorry.
ma'am. Go ahead.
under discussion, I'd like to congratulate Josephine Velasquez and her recent receiving of her bachelor's degree. So take a moment to say
Thank you.
congratulations on that. And then, Josephine, Ms. Velasquez, could you tell us, this company is the same company that has done our water rights for numerous years, correct?
Correct, Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez. They have been our legal provider since 2003.
Right.
So,
Okay,
yes.
and it was a competitive bid process?
Counselor Martinez, this was the only bid that was received.
Okay, it was RFP though. That
yeah,
was my
yes,
point.
correct.
Thank you. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselor comments, questions? Okay, there's been a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, I think Patty Martinez, you're for the motion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you, Counselor. Just making sure. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Velasquez.
Thank you for the acknowledgement as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is consideration of amendments to Resolution 2021-36. A resolution authorizing the hazardous pay stipend for the city of Espanola employees and first responders who have worked at their regular posts during the COVID-19 public health emergency. This is something we're revisiting, so I'm passing the torch off to our city manager, Javier Martinez. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, members of the governing body. So this item came before you 2 weeks ago at the last council meeting for approval. And the governing body chose to add several amendments, I believe a total of maybe 5. After that, myself, our city attorney, Mr. Nahum, and our city clerk and the clerk's department went in and heard the audio and tried to decipher exactly what the governing body wanted in regards to the amendments. So before you, one of the amendments was a hazard stipend of $1,250 per the entire COVID-19 period shall be paid to all public work employees who could not telecommute and were required to work in the field in the water, wastewater, and streets department. That was concern number 1 for myself and legal, and I'll elaborate. I believe that when it was brought up, there was a talk that these individuals in the public works were considered more essential than other field workers, i.e. general services, parks, fleet, custodial, they work the field. Also another concern that was brought to my attention, when we first put out this stipend, so the fire department is one union, they all got paid the same amount. PD, one union, got paid the same amount. With this is a concern is that we've separated, or I guess segregated, the 1188 union for one amount over another. And when the governor put out determining who was essential workers, it was just determined either you're essential or you're not. It wasn't on a scale as to what work they performed. It was either they were essential or they were not. Me as the appointed official, as a city manager, I was appointed to see the day-to-day operations of city staff. When I made the initial recommendation on this, that's how I based my decision on two different amounts, first responders and non-first responders. And I'll elaborate on that. At the beginning of the pandemic, in March of 2020, the governor declared a state of health emergency and basically shut down the whole state. And strongly encouraged to minimize staff to the bare minimum to maintain services. So as a city manager, I authorized a staggered schedule to minimize staff at City Hall, in their departments and where they worked. Every single non-first responder, to include water, wastewater, and streets, were given the opportunity to do the staggered schedule. Not a single first responder, however, was not able to privilege on this possibility to do that. Fire was there day in and day out. PD was there day in and day out. Detention officers were there day in and day out. E911 operators were at work day in and day out. And also I mentioned our emergency manager who was here day in and day out and could not take the staggered schedule opportunity. And I'm referring to Mr. Jeff Sargent. Everybody here knows what a great job he did during the pandemic, keeping us up to date with anything that was going on. We get a report of a positive COVID case at certain offices. Mr. Jeff Sargent and Mr. Jeff Sargent alone would go out to the office 7, 8 p.m. to disinfect, to make sure that the incoming staff the next day came to a clean office. So that's where my concern on number 2 primarily is, in regards to that we're kind of giving the same union members different pay stipends, and every single employee was considered essential. I was asked, what about recreation and library? They were closed. Yes, they were. But the people that didn't know was that the Espanola School District and the Rio Arriba County Senior Center reached out to us if we can provide help to do door-to-door service with meals to students that weren't getting their one meal at the schools, and senior centers that weren't able to leave their house. So I applauded our recreation and library to doing that through the pandemic. Not only that, as all of you know, the senior center was booming throughout the pandemic, quadrupling their revenues. That they needed extra assistance. Recreation and library were there to assist with that. That's why we determined them as essential workers. There was never a determination of who was more essential than others. It was just first responders and non-first responders. So moving on to the second additional amendment on number 4. This hazardous stipend only applies to employees that have physically worked for a period of 12 months, consecutive months during the public health emergency, except that the current employees that started employment with the city in the midst of the pandemic shall receive a prorate share of the hazard stipend proportional to the number of days such employees worked during the pandemic of the public health emergency. I had a concern with that in regards to implementing. Now, we determined that the health emergency was declared on March 11th, 2020. And it was lifted when the governor fully opened the state on July 1st, 2021. So within those 15-month timeframes, that's where we considered a health emergency. If we prorate for individuals that worked any time to that, it gets very convoluted. It gets very too much into the weeds. A good example, we had an employee that started with the city of Espanola, June 28th. Now, by what it says here, we're gonna have to pay him for the 28th, 29th, and 30th. 3 days divided by, for the $1,000, that individual will get $8.21. I think that's an insult to that individual. So, and then also going back to the next change on number 6, former employees were city employees during the public health emergency, but are no longer employed by the city, are not eligible to receive the hazard stipend. I concur with this. That's absolutely, the only thing I had a problem is, except for former employees who left the city employment for retirement. How do we determine that? We had employees that came in here to finish off their last 1 year of para from other departments. Why should they get the stipend? I mean, these are kind of things, so a lot of issues. So those one of the main concerns. So I stand for any questions.
Thank you, City Manager. I just have one question. The take of our legal, have you been able to discuss this thoroughly with our legal department?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, Dennis Tim Salazar, and I will yield the floor to our city attorney if he wishes to chime in, but we did have this discussion at length.
Thank you. Mr. Jonas Nahum, did you want to speak now, or do you want to wait for councilors' questions, or what's your pleasure, sir?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar and members of the governing body. Just to answer your question, Mayor Pro Tem, the city manager and I spoke about this resolution maybe the day or two after this resolution was approved by the council. And I know that the city manager was having a lot of difficulty implementing this resolution because of the different levels and all the sort of different circumstances that are in this resolution. And I know that that union issue that he talked about it gives legal a little concern because my understanding is that you shouldn't be paying union members that are similarly situated different amounts, and the union may take notice of that. And as he noted, that's not a concern if you draw the line between first responders and non-first responders, because all first responders have the same union. But when you start going into other city employees and under city staff, that union issue really becomes prominent. And so that was his concern, which I agree with. And I just want to say that from the city attorney's point of view, there's not necessarily a legal issue in the delineations that you made, in the drawing of the lines that you made. It's just that implementing that was very difficult for the city manager and was causing city employees to text and say, hey, what about me? And I worked out in the field and I did this and I did that. And there was a lot of implementation problem. So that's my take on the discussions that we had about the resolution.
Thank you, sir. We're going to Councilor Justin Salazar Torres, and then Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez, and then Councilor John Ritchie. Go ahead, Councilor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem. So, Honorable City Manager, this resolution that's before us, and this, I guess, a question for our city attorney as well. This clears up all murkiness that we've had. This makes the waters clear for you to proceed with the plan as follows. Correct?
I'm sorry, Councilor, a little bit muffled.
This resolution is before us, clears up all murkiness that we've had to let you do your job. Is that what I'm understanding?
No.
So is this are we needing to vote on this? So I'm a little confused.
All right. No, so thank you, Councilor Justin Salazar. That was a great question. This is, I presented this as how we determined the governing body wanted the amendments to be as last council meeting. So with, I will propose my recommendation once I've addressed any and all questions that the governing body has at this time.
Okay, next up, Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez. Go ahead, ma'am.
First of all, our intent, or my intent, and I think the rest of the governing body, was never to convolute the situation.
and not to provide more confusion for the city manager's office, of course, and definitely not to create a legal issue with any union. You know, we were asked to pick it apart and we picked it apart, and it seems like everything we did was in vain. And to me, a lot of it deals with the backlash of this person sending that text, what about me, what about me, what about me, whatever. You know, this is a situation that's difficult for a governing body member because we so much appreciate each and every department. To me, everybody was an essential worker that kept the city running. Whether it was in a front line or supportive services in finance or wherever, I think that every single employee that dedicated themselves to continue to work during a pandemic, that needs to be looked at as something that is really awesome. So I'm open to hear what city manager's recommendations are. And I would like to get this passed tonight because I feel like, in my view, I actually thought people already got their money. So I'm just so sad that we're still handling it. So let's just get it done.
Thank you, Counselor. A follow-up with Counselor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Honorable Member. So I would ask that the city manager, I guess, give us your recommendations first. That way, therefore, any questions that may come up, because otherwise I think we're just going to beat around the bush. And I think I'd rather hear your recommendations first and then proceed with questions, if that's okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
That's fine. What's your pleasure, sir?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar, members of the governing body. My recommendations doesn't really change too much from the initial proposed resolution that I submitted 2 weeks ago. To continue paying the $1,000 stipend to non-first responders, to pay $1,500 to first responders, and I'll be very specific as to who I mean in regards to first responders. That would be the fire department, police department, the detention, E911 dispatchers, and the emergency manager. I'd also proceed, and I can add this in that this would only apply to current employees that have physically worked for a period of 12 months consecutive, or for 12 consecutive months during the health emergency pandemic, that which would be from March 11th, 2020 through June 30th of 2021. Elected officials, mayor, councilors, and municipal judge of the city are not allowed or able to receive additional funds. It's up to the city's council if they would like to award this stipend to appointed officials, to include city manager, fire chief, chief of police, and city clerk. Former employees who were city employees during the public health emergency but are no longer employed by the city are not eligible to receive the hazard stipend. And I stand for any questions. Those are my recommendations.
So moved.
Second with a follow-up.
Okay, motion been made by Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez, seconded by Counselor John Ritchie. Or Denise, okay. Seconded by Counselor Denise Benavides. Next up for.
I did not second.
Oh, you didn't second? Okay. Okay, John Ritchie seconded. Sorry, Counselor Benavides. Okay, next up we have Counselor John Ritchie for question or comments. Go ahead, sir.
Everything has been answered. I agree with the proposal from the city manager to simplify it, and let's vote on it.
Thank you, sir. Counselor Denise Benavides, you have the floor, ma'am.
You know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but every single city employee got a salary. Every single one. Nobody was laid off. Nobody's pay got cut. None of that. So, you know, just as a reminder to employees, they still all were on the payroll. And you know, for me, we hashed it out for so long in the last meeting, and here we are again disagreeing. And I think that the next time, city manager, just bring your recommendations, say that's what you want. And I don't recall any union issues coming up at that time, but let's go ahead and vote.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Counselor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Pro Tem, I was not here for that meeting, but I've got a question. A resolution was voted on last time and approved with recommendations for change, correct?
We're amending it
So now we're amending this resolution is all we're doing, correct? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't having multiple resolutions out there and one supersedes another.
to include, just for clarification, Chair, appointed positions
Right, that
on
is,
my motion, okay?
okay, very good, very good. Thank you, Counselor. City Clerks, City Clerk, do you have that? You guys have that? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so there's been a motion, there's been a second to the consideration of amendment to Resolution 2021-36. Is there any other? Okay, we got Counselor Manny Martinez waving at me. You got the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Just a quick, just a verification on City Manager Martinez's, he stated that no employees that have left the city will be eligible. Does that include employees that did work through the pandemic, through this time period, but left after the time period? Will they also be excluded from this as well?
Councilor Manny Martinez, to clarify, so this affects only current employees. So if they have left the city, they will not be eligible.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Could
Okay,
we mention the amounts again, just for clarification?
yes, that's fine. So it's going to be 1,500 for all first responders, is that correct? And 1,000 for non-first responders.
That's correct, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, great. Thank you. Counselor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, and it states here, elected officials such as a mayor, councilors, and municipal judge of the city are not eligible to receive this hazard stipend. I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments? There's
Did you
been
say not? I'm just kidding.
Okay, I think we clarified that. There's been a motion and there's been a second. I think we will go to a roll call vote. Madam City Clerk.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor. Thank you to our staff.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy D. Valdez. For the motion. Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Motion does carry unanimously. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to our staff. Thank you, City Manager, for all your hard work, and to our Attorney's Office as well.
You're welcome, Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez. We will work to expedite this.
Yeah, please do.
Very good, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2021-37, a resolution adopting the 2023 through 2027 City of Espanola Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan, otherwise known as ICIP. This is presented by our Grants and Utility Manager, Ms. Diane Hawkins. Welcome, Ms. Hawkins. How are you?
I'm doing well,
Good,
Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the governing body. I'm here this evening requesting approval of Resolution 2021-37. And this resolution will adopt the 2023 to 2027 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan. First off, I would like to apologize that you are just getting the listing this evening. I was trying to give department heads ample time to respond. What I can say that there is very little difference between last year and this year. What we're trying to establish that if we have a project that was a priority last year and it hasn't been completed, funded, or otherwise, we need it to remain a priority until we are able to complete it. We did keep our upcoming infrastructure opportunities as top priorities because we do want to seek funding. We're currently obtaining engineering on 3 of these major projects, so they are part of our top. With respect to additions, I believe we only have 2, if not 3. Other than that, they are all existing. Priority ranking has basically stayed the same. And on page 2, you will see 6 projects that are being removed because they have been completed. I stand for any questions.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres, you have the floor, sir.
Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, I know I sound like a broken record, but since 2018, I've been behind this dais. I see the North McCurdy Road Improvements Project always getting moved down, so now it's at 2023. I just hope that it gets moved up on this list. I know we have bigger priorities, but being that that is District 4, and that is my district, and I get an abundance of calls regarding that road, I hope to see that flourish one of these days. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Denise Benavides, you have the floor now.
I just wanted to see if we could get the list on the screen so that we could see it.
Thank you. Are we able to get the list on the screen?
So Mayor Pro Tem and members of the governing body, so the one that's available as packet material has slight changes because we were still working on the 11th hour to update and current. So the one that's provided in front of you is the most current. And Councilor Denise Benavides, we can get this to you soon so you can review it. But yeah, unfortunately, what's provided as packet material on this has slight changes. And Diane, if you can indulge Councilor Denise Benavides to kind of go on the items that are based on what's on the packet material, based on what you handed out physically here to the council.
Absolutely. I can absolutely do that. So basically, what was changed was the year, of course, because it does change every year. There were I think only 2 projects that we moved up the priority list, and that was the City Hall roofing project because we are experiencing some issues. And let me see very quickly.
The broadband expansion study.
That did go, actually, I believe it stayed the same. Broadband extension was 6th priority last year, and it still is.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
Under discussion.
Motion's been made by Counselor Justin Salazar Torres, seconded by Counselor John Ritchie. Discussion, Counselor Felicio Martinez.
Thank you. So the Riverside Drive water utility upgrade remains the first priority of the city of Espanola. Now that the federal money is coming down for infrastructure, there's possibilities that this list is going to shift very rapidly, especially where roads and infrastructure, piping, and those kinds of things are concerned, because there is a good chance that there's going to be some federal funding for a lot of this stuff. Concerning Councilor Torres's concern with North McCurdy, I also get calls about that situation. And I feel like it's very important to at least start to think about having the engineering done for these projects, especially as the state has been releasing money every year and they have to be project ready. So I think the Cayamita Montes, I think it's something that we need to still maintain and finish up that engineering, figure out what we're going to do with that drainage, so that that's a possibility that could also be split into a federal state project. The other stuff that's on here, the North Prince Sewer Line Comprehensive Study and Design, I know that we have marked funded to date 0, but I know that the city has recently invested a little bit of money in trying to figure out some plan and get some plans for that sewer system to get done. So I would like to see that amount filled in here to look like it is a priority for us, and we've begun to invest some money in that, whatever that minute amount might be at this time, because I really feel like that's something that we need to continue to work on. And, you know, I can definitely feel Councilor Torres's heartburn, because I've had the Prince Carter sewer system on my radar for a long time. And now it's here on number 7. So I've bounced up to 5 and come back down to 7 and bounced up to 5, but it's still something that it's at the helm of what I think is very important, because without providing that sewer to North Prince, we cannot annex any other section of this community, because we haven't been faithful to the promises that we've made. And in order to grow our community, especially in that El Llano area, wrap that whole line in and make that whole area not checkerboard anymore. In order to do that, we have to be honorable to this sewer situation. So that's the reason that that is so critical. If we want to grow Espanola towards Arroyo Seco, towards El Llano, this situation is a must. We have to be honorable to that promise. So the plan is good, but I think that we need to continue to work the federal side of funding along with the state side of funding. Thank you,
Councilor
Ms. Diane.
Martinez. I concur. I absolutely concur. And along those lines, that's exactly why our goal was to keep infrastructure projects the top priorities for year 2023.
Absolutely.
That was the goal. That way, if we can show that it's a priority at the state level, we can
Absolutely.
use that as follow through for the federal level as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for all your work on this. I know it's hard to put this together and it's hard to figure out where things should be, especially when we're looking at this new funding that's coming up. So I certainly appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have the floor, Councilor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to reiterate that we go out and lobby our governor and our state representatives and our state senators because they're going to have a hefty budget for for these sort of projects. So we need to get out there and make sure they take care of their constituency out here.
Thank you, Councilor Torres.
Thank you. Any other councilor comments, questions?
One more.
Yes, Councilor Peggy Sue Martinez, go ahead, ma'am.
Concerning the comment that Councilor Torres made, it could be a year where the city of Espanola could consider the possibility of hiring a lobbyist. Because I think that it might be a good investment of this year because there is going to be funding. So something for us to think about.
Thank you, Councilor. I do agree with that. Possibly a lobbyist would be a good thing to look at, especially at this time prior to getting closer to the legislative session. Councilor Manny Martinez, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Mayor Pro Tem, I completely agree. We need to really look at how we can get a lot of this money coming in and also push NMDOT because we do have many state roads coming through our valley that need work as well, that they can take care of through this Infrastructure Act as well and that way the money that we can get as a city can go to more of our streets that we take care of. But I think if we were to press NMDOT with Riverside, with Paseo de Oñate, and of course the South McCurdy and any other road that doesn't need work on, I think now's the time to do it, sir.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor John Ritchie, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I asked if the city manager could look at putting a proposal for a
Lobbyist.
thank you. Just it just went. If he could get a proposal so that by either the end of our next meeting or in October that we can get, because we're under the time frame, 3 months, we're gonna be in legislation. So I asked that the city manager proposes a lobbyist and bring it to us as soon as possible.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Manny Martinez, go ahead, sir. Councilor Martinez, I think you're on mute.
Is that better, sir?
Yes, sir. Go
Yes,
ahead.
Sorry about that. I think I had a senior moment like Senior Richie there.
Senior Ritchie.
I would just say maybe we can look into Mr. Madrid's problem that he's having with his property and our property line, and see if maybe we can look for some infrastructure money there to put a retaining wall or fencing that might be needed for that area as well, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the comments.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, there's been a motion on the floor and there's been a second for resolution 2021-37, our resolution adopting the ICIP. Let's go to a roll
And
call vote.
we're approving this list,
Yes.
correct? The one with the two blue lines?
That is correct.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you for the clarification. Madam Clerk, can you call roll, please?
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise D. Benavides, Counselor Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar,
For the motion.
Counselor Denise D. Benavides.
In favor.
Motion carries.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, next item on the agenda, we have resolution 2021-38. Thank you, Ms. Hawkes, for the last agenda item as well. Okay, a resolution accepting the New Mexico Department of Transportation award in the amount of $225,000 for Silky Way project. Again, Ms. Hawkes, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, members of the governing body. I'm here this evening respectfully requesting approval of Resolution 2021-38. This resolution allows us to participate in the Transportation Project Fund along with the match waiver program with NMDOT. They did award us funding in the amount of $225,000. Participation in the match waiver program will not require us to put up the $11,250 out of our coffers. So that's basically what this resolution is. I stand for any questions.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Justin Salazar Torres made a motion, seconded by Counselor Didi Valdez and Counselor John Ritchie. Discussion, Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez.
Repeat that again, Dan. We don't have any matching funds on this situation?
Well, that's what this resolution will do. It'll request our participation in their match waiver
All
program.
right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I know regarding this issue and the next resolution as well, just like to thank our hardworking staff. Thank you, Diane and staff. I know through the RTPO process, I know it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of paperwork, and there's a lot of competition to get this done. So just want to, thank you guys for that. So there's been a motion on the floor and a second. So with that, Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, next item is Resolution 2021-39, a resolution accepting New Mexico Department of Transportation award in the amount of $475,000 for East Pueblo Street project. Ms. Hawkes.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, members of the governing body. First off, I would like to say that former planning director, Mr. Richard Hubler, he was the brainchild that formulated and spearheaded these funding opportunities, if you will. I'm just the lucky one that gets to carry the torch. Again, I'm here respectfully requesting approval of 2021-39. This is for an award provided by NMDOT in the amount of $500,000 for East Pueblo Street. Again, this is to accept the award and to participate in their match waiver program. If approved, our match waiver of $25,000 would be waived.
So moved.
Second.
To approve?
Very good. Motion's been made by Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez, seconded by Counselor Justin Salazar Torres and Counselor Manny Martinez. Discussion.
Under discussion, just the same thing. Thank you very much, Dan, for all that you do for us. Absolutely kudos to Richard Hubler for setting this up, and hopefully his replacement will continue those kinds of opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Denise Benavides and then Counselor Manny Martinez. Go ahead, Counselor Benavides.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I too just want to take this opportunity, even though our essential employees carrying the torch. Thank you, Diana, for everything that you do. This is huge for our constituents on East Pueblo. That road is in dire need as well as McCurdy Road. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Manny Martinez, go ahead, sir.
I just want to say hallelujah. Thank you so much. I know that we've been asking for this for so long. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Diane. And thank you, Mr. Hubler. If you're listening out there by any chance in Colorado somewhere, we just say thank you very much for your hard work. And we know Diane will continue the torch and continue the process and get more money for the city so we can continue these projects. Thank you so much, ma'am. I know the residents of East Pueblo will appreciate this very much.
They're saying hallelujah right now, Counselor. Okay, is there any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to a roll call vote. We may say, Madam City Clerk.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
For the motion.
Counselor Dorothy D.D. Valdez,
In favor.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Akis. I didn't forget you this time. Appreciate all you do. Okay, moving on to the next item is item K, Resolution 2021-40, a resolution establishing the Please Help, Don't Give initiative. This is presented by Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez. Counselor Martinez, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm honored that this is finally on an agenda for approval. This is something that I've been asking for more than 5 years, trying to get this initiative established in the city of Espanola. I know that recently the panhandling seems like it's gotten even more out of control, so I really feel like this is something that is a tool that will help us to use this. So the Please Help, Don't Give initiative deals with redirecting people's generosity to agencies that will help homelessness and help people that are in crisis. It helps to modify the generosity of the giving public to giving more effectively to organizations that can make a difference. Some of those organizations here in our community are Pathway House Homeless Shelter, St. Martin de Porres Kitchen, Soup Kitchen, the Crisis Center of the City of Espanola, and Compassion Through Action, also here through the City of Espanola. I've recently asked the city clerk to create a link on our website that links to all of these different 501c3 organizations here in our community that help the homeless and help people that are on the streets. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention that one of the reasons I feel that this is so important is that some of the people that we've seen on the streets panhandling have actually been on our streets for quite some time. And I don't believe that their lives have improved in any way, shape, or form with any amount of donation that anybody in our generous community has given them. In fact, I think that they've been affected derogatorily because some of that money has been utilized for things that are not healthy for them. So this ordinance or resolution, I should say, actually just establishes let me go ahead and read it. A resolution establishing the Please Help, Don't Give initiative, whereas the city of Espanola will use the Please Help, Don't Give resolution as a first step in a renewed commitment to aiding the homeless in our community. And whereas the city of Espanola recognizes the generosity of the people of the of Espanola Valley and the surrounding communities. Whereas the city of Espanola wishes to encourage their generosity be directed to local nonprofit agencies who advocate for homeless and their needs. Whereas the city of Espanola will also collaborate with both Santa Fe and Rio Arriba counties to become more effective in finding ways to improve services for homeless in our community. Now therefore be it resolved that this governing body of the city of Espanola has renewed the above request and approves the initiative set forth, passed and adopted approve this 14th day of September 2021 in regular session of the governing body municipality of Espanola, Rio Arriba County. So along with this initiative comes some signage that is going to be paid for by the city of Espanola. There's two different art pieces that have been created by Josh Martinez at Espanola Typewriter Service. He was so generous in sharing his professionalism for being able to do this type of work. These signs can be created right here in Espanola at a cost that's pretty much what we would be paying if we had ordered them from anywhere out of state. So I think it's important to utilize our local business for this initiative also. So this is one of them. It says, say no to panhandlers, donate to organizations that help homeless. Possibly adding the city of Espanola's email on the bottom for the link to this. The other idea that we had is to go ahead and start naming the organizations underneath the sign with 2-inch signs so that people realize that there are organizations in our community that can help. And then this is the other side, panhandling. No panhandling, contribute to the solution. Please give to local charities. So by no means is this a cure-all for panhandling. This is only a first step commitment to trying to do something to improve it in our community. I still want to look at the ordinances concerning people on the curbs. I want to look at beautifying those curbs. The curb leaving Walmart is in total and complete disarray. I mean, the weeds are 3 feet high there. It's just horrible. So it's something that we need to work on. Along with this would have to come some advertisement, some coffee break hours, and really just talking about what the initiative is and trying to deter people from giving monetary donations to panhandlers. I feel like working with Santa Fe County and Rio Arriba County on this initiative is so important because I feel like we need a person on the ground that's talking to these people that are on our streets, finding out ways that we can help them as far as get them employment, get them driver's license, get them birth certificates or things like this. They're so essential to them starting to become a viable member of our community. So I reached out to Lauren Reichel. I'm not sure if she's online yet or not. And maybe you could go ahead and let her speak to the situation if you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I do see Ms. Reichelt online. Ms. Reichelt, if you can hear me, you have the floor, ma'am.
Oh, yes, thank you. And thank you, Counselor Martinez. I spoke earlier today to Counselor Martinez about different possible city-county collaborations having to do with improving services for the homeless population. We already, my department already does provide case management for a lot of individuals and services such as helping them to get their driver's licenses and IDs and other things that can really help them to get off the street. But really, one of the things that we're lacking in is recovery housing. And what I spoke to Commissioner Martinez about was we're also lacking in affordable housing for people, you know, for young families who are looking for places to live, who come to Espanola. And so what I spoke to to Councilor Martinez about was possibly a collaboration between the county and city to look at possibly creating recovery housing so that people who are really trying to get clean, have a place, or trying to stop using drugs, have a place where they can live. And we talked specifically about the area around Industrial Park Road where the county and city already own land and there aren't any neighbors, so it wouldn't be disrupting anybody's neighborhood. But I don't have ideas for ways to stop panhandling, but I do think that one thing that could really help people who are in desperate straits and need some options or some solutions is not only just providing case management, but also providing a place for them to live that is supervised 24/7, and where part of what we had talked about was Councilor Martinez had a really fantastic idea about maybe trying to help people to supply jobs to people who are living there, even doing things like building housing so that they can learn how to do something. So I was really excited by that possible idea, and I would always stand ready to collaborate with the city in any way to try and provide opportunities to people and find ways to make our city a safer, healthier place to live. And is that kind of what you were asking about?
Yes,
Councilor
absolutely.
Martinez?
Absolutely. I'd just like to go back to the modular housing idea that I had thought about. You know, one of the issues that we come across constantly in this community is a lack of housing, affordable houses, new neighborhoods, all of this stuff. The city of Espanola has those 90 acres and Prince Ranch. And my thought was, if we build a modular housing factory where we build modular homes there, train people, employ people, and provide them with an opportunity to see themselves in one of those houses down the road, I really feel like these are opportunities that could pull people away from the lifestyle that they've adopted. So this is something that definitely is way down the road. For right now, I really believe this is a first step initiative to try and redirect the generosity of the public away from giving money to people on our streets, because it's just creating more people on our streets and it's not helping anybody. So I'm going to make a motion to approve this initiative. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Counselor. Motion's been made by Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez, seconded by Counselor Justin Salazar Torres. For discussion, Counselor Salazar Torres.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem. First of all, excuse me, I'd like to see this as an annual resolution come before its governing body every year. And then every year we can do something different for signs, et cetera. We can always do a whole lot more to this. But I'd also like to add, I'd like to beg to differ that, Espanola does not have, that comment that was made, any sort of transitional housing or anything like that. We do have Darren's Place. There is the Eagle Village that was presented as a transitional housing. Pathways was presented as to be some sort of transitional location. So I want the public to know that they can contribute to these places for that sort of help. Know that Espanola is not just a ghost town with nothing to help out. There is places, and that's why I believe this is a great initiative to get the public to help these nonprofits succeed.
Very good. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Manny Martinez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think this is a great start to trying to get a handle on this issue that we've had for so long in our community, and it just continuing to get worse. As Counselor Justin mentioned, we do have some areas where people are able to seek help if they are searching for it, or if they're looking for that help, and that is, again, is Pathways or Darren's Place. But I would like to see what kind of efforts that they're making, or what kind of strides they're making in those areas. We have not had any type of report. I'd like to see how many people are going through their transitional housing, if people have moved out of that type of living conditions and moved on to better things, or have gotten the help that they've been needed. I have heard reports that there is sometimes less than 10 people staying at the Pathway shelter, and considering the amount of people we have living in tents or panhandling, it'd be nice to see how many people are actually getting help there, and if they're going in on their own, or what's the reason that if they're not getting help, what's the cause of that? Because they do have, like Councilor Justin did state, they do have the Pathway shelter, and then have the transitional housing through the Eagle housing there that they have. But my question to them would be, are these people transitioning out, or are they now residing in those areas? Because if it's meant to be a transition into work, into school, into housing, then I think we need to see how many numbers that is, because then that would kind of give us an idea of how many people are getting helped through these organizations, especially since we are going to be requesting that the public donate to these organizations. I think it'd be good for us to get some sort of reports from them to realize what their success rate is when it comes to helping these people. Also, if we could, possibly maybe we could add, I know the location of the organization is outside city limits, but I do know the Knights of Columbus do provide a lot of help and also support to some of these organizations as well. I mean, as the soup kitchen in other ways. So that might be another organization that people might want to give help to, or because they do also support people not just within the city, but people that live without the city, out of the city limits, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Manny Martinez. I would just like to add, I think this is an excellent first step, just as Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez had mentioned. Also, in speaking with our city manager today, I just want to clarify that this has gone through our legal department and everything with this resolution is okay to move forward. So I think Councillor Justin Salazar Torres, you had your hand up?
Yes, sir. And Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez, I'm not sure if you have a list in front of you or not. I hate to put you on the spot, but just for the listening public, if we'd like to reiterate what nonprofits are out there for now, since we are on Que Dice right now, and there's some folks listening out there, but I'll name two that are near and dear to my heart is, of course, you've mentioned it was a San Martin de Porres Soup Kitchen, and of course, Compassion Through Action. Those are two groups that I'm very fond of, and I just want to let the listening public know that they can contribute to them to help these folks out.
Thank you, sir. Councillor John Ritchie and then Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez. Go ahead, Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to ask if regarding the signage that we were talking, I think it was metal signs for out in the within the city, but the signs that Peggy has that has been developed, I think those need to be made in as they are into a paper to distribute to our local businesses, because if we can get our local businesses to post these and build the confidence in our public to donate to other charities and not to individuals, that's where we're going to make the impact. We really got to get the word out. And I think within our local businesses, emphasizing this and helping us promote it. So that's where I ensure that we get posters out or signs out to our businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. I think that's an excellent idea. I think that if the public starts to see something like this on every window walking into a business, it's going to become more of a reality of what the city is trying to do and how we're trying to sort of just take that first step to try to deter the generosity. So the organizations that I know have a 501c3, and possibly the city manager's office would be the one to make sure and vet these organizations. The Pathway House Homeless Shelter, of course, their number is 505-753-4453. Their email is admin@EspanolaPathwaysShelter.org. And there's an opportunity on that web page to go ahead and donate. St. Martin de Porres Kitchen, Soup Kitchen. The person in charge there is Susie Raybal. Her number is 470-2208. Her website is smdpssoupkitchen.com. I don't know. I think that's wrong. I'm going to have to get with her. It must be @soupkitchen.com, smdp@soupkitchen.com. She sent me that address without the @ I guess. And then there is the Crisis Center of Espanola, and that number is 505-753-1656. And they also have a webpage.
if you Google the Crisis Center of Espanola, you can come through that, and Compassion Through Action. Mr. Andrew Herrera is on the meeting. If he would like to speak, could you honor that, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Mr. Andrew Herrera, you have the floor, sir, if you would like to speak. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Pro Tem Mayor Tim Salazar, sorry about that, and members of the council. Thank you for having us on this Zoom meeting and for your city council meeting. You know, we always support any initiative that's going to help those in need and the homeless population. You know, one of the things that maybe statistic wise, we can just say real quick, I know you guys have a long evening and you've been here all evening. I've been in these meetings before and I know what you guys are going through. So, but, you know, statistically, you know, panhandlers can make anywhere from $10 to $100 per day. And when they're making that kind of money, again, it's already been kind of like spoken and saying that it's not helping their situation, and the services that they are needing is really, really what we need to focus on. Our organization, of course, hands out sack lunches to those in need and homeless population. You'd be surprised how many people are in need in the Valley that are not homeless. They just actually need a helping hand. Some of those people are just down and out on their luck, and they just need a helping hand. And we're here to do that in any way that we can. We don't give any money to anybody. We sometimes take special requests, but we do help anybody that's in need that comes to us. We do this on an every 2 weeks basis. There's many other organizations, of course, that were mentioned that are fabulous and do great work as well. You know, one of the other things that we can bring to light also is that, you know, if panhandlers are making money here in the Espanola Valley and they're taking advantage of it with no either restrictions or repercussions, there's going to be other panhandlers come from other cities that are knowing that they can come and make anywhere from $10 to $100 per day or even more by coming to the city of Espanola. And then it brings kind of like a bad reputation to the city to say that anybody can come over here and make money. And I know people have tried to curb the panhandling in different means and in different ways, but it takes a community, and we're a very giving community, as we all know. And when people are just willing to just give money to somebody because they look like they're down and out on their luck, which they probably are, but at the same time, we don't know where that money's going, and there's no end result as to where the money's going that these people hand to them. So, you know, I always encourage the public to donate to any charities that are helping the homeless population and those in need. You know, of course, ours included, but there's many others that they can contribute to. And we're always here to lend a helping hand. We stand by this initiative. I've spoken to our board. I've spoken to our director, the founder of our organization, and he's very much behind it. And, you know, we're here to help in any way that we can. Let us know. You know, all of us are working just like all of you full time, but we do take time about our busy schedules to do what we can for the community and those in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Thank you for the comments and of course, all of your group's efforts to help the less fortunate in the community in need. We appreciate that. Councillor Peggy Sue Martinez for the follow-up, and then I'll go to Councillor Denise Benavides afterwards. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you.
Peggy Sue.
I just would ask the chair to recognize Mrs. Johnny Desroyans. She's online also.
Yes, ma'am. Are you there? Yes. Hi, Johnny. This is, go ahead. You have the floor.
Hi, I'm Johnny Mae Desroyans with Friday Night Dining. And I was gonna, which is also a nonprofit organization in Espanola. You know, I wanted to say that, you know, that sign that you are looking at, why don't you put a banner also, so when visitors come into Espanola Valley, they can see, please do not contribute. You see this? Well, you kind of have me blocked, so I can't see no panhandling, and contribute, you know, give to local charities in the community, but have a banner, you know, a big banner like you have the Christmas lights hanging during the holiday, so they can, everyone can see it about don't give donations or money to panhandlers. Because the panhandlers that are out there, because I talk to them, a lot of the ones out on the street, a lot of them have a lot of substance abuse issues, not only substance abuse issues, but mental health issues. And you can't help if help don't want help. But, I think the big first thing is to sign up about not continuing to give money to them to support their habits.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your comments. Okay, Counselor Denise Benavides, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I kind of just wanted to add to my fellow Councilor Manny Martinez's comments. I do know that we should have some kind of collaboration with Pathway Shelter. I believe there's a new president there, and maybe even collaboration with Compassion Through Action, and come together and discuss some of the issues and actually get some good solid numbers from the shelter. It's my understanding that there are times when there are 3 people there, and sometimes, they find that it's not open, or just a lot of things that we're hearing. And I think that, it's good for us to confirm that. Also, Eagle Village is not true transitional housing. So I'd like to hear from them as to who's staying there, what they're doing. Is there some kind of rent being collected? Do they just stay there? Both those properties are in Santa Fe County. So, might want to reach out to them to collaborate as well. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention, only because I spent the afternoon at the senior center today and went out with the manager there to visit some seniors, and I was in shock. And I want us to not forget about our seniors who are hungry out there, but don't have the means to go out and get food, who are in dire need of services. So I just want us to not forget about our seniors.
Thank you, Counselor. In reference to the senior community, thank you for mentioning that. There is a lot of seniors that are in dire need. Sometimes they're home all day, all night, and nobody goes to their home. So they're hungry, but at the same time, they're either too embarrassed or too proud to state that, that they are hungry. So that's a very good point made. Thank you, Counselor. Is there any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to, there's been a motion and there's been a second. So let's move on to a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, if you can call roll, please.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
Absolutely in favor.
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy D. Valdez,
For the motion.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez, for bringing this forward. And again, this is an excellent first step, and let's keep moving forward with that. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our next item is a consideration of approval of lease agreement between the City of Espanola and Amazon, presented by our city manager, Javier Martinez. CM Martinez, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the governing body. Before you, there's a lease agreement between the City of Espanol and Amazon to occupy a portion of the National Guard Armory based on Industrial Park for a monthly base rent rate of $4,000 a month for $48,000 annually. This, of course, fortunately, Amazon hit us up because this is a great hub for distribution, which they can access 3 different other states within a less than 150-mile radius. This lease, this company will also, to start off, will bring roughly about 25 employees to start off with, and hopefully expanding. Right now, it's just a portion of the facility, since the National Guard Armory has not fully transferred ownership of the facility, but we just have a memorandum of understanding with the National Guard for this limited third of the space. I stand for any questions.
Motion to approve, sir.
Second.
Motion has been made by Counselor Salazar Torres, seconded by Counselor Ritchie and Counselor Valdez. Counselor Salazar Torres, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I just want to say that it's great to see economic development coming to the city, especially with a beast such as Amazon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Counselor John Ritchie, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. City Manager, what is their potential? What is their goal?
I guess, Counselor Ritchie, to answer that question, so in talking with Amazon, they're looking to start and it be established before Black Friday.
And what's their growth potential? I mean, how we're dealing with the armory, what's their, since you said our location is ideal for them, what is their growth?
So for right now, we're going into it, initially with this agreement, but eventually, once we get full control of the facility, we can reach out to Amazon to see if they want to expand. But for right now, we're limited to what we can provide, and that's where we're settling on this. But right now, Amazon is expecting to grow and flourish here in Espanola.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Manny Martinez and then Counselor Denise Benavides. Go ahead, Counselor Manny.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I just want to agree with my fellow councilors. This is a great news to see this kind of business coming to Espanola. I think it's a great, I think we just need to continue getting this type of jobs. Hopefully, we'll be able to see an expansion of maybe Amazon in the future, but it's great to see them coming to town, sir.
Thank you, sir. Counselor Denise Benavides, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Temp. I'm just going to echo on that. It's amazing to have Amazon here with us. I hope that we can do everything we possibly can to keep them and to assist them in their growth, whatever the potential for that is. And then I also just wanted to mention, I mentioned in one of our other meetings that, the film industry is also looking for a place for simply staging equipment and things like that. So hopefully maybe we can get them into our community as well. They are filming here and are going to continue to do so, is my understanding. So, more potential there. So hopefully we can see something done with them as well.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions or comments?
Could we restate the cost for Amazon to rent that portion?
Yes, absolutely, Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez. So for right now, the lease is for $4,000 a month, 48,000 per year for the next 5 years.
Very good, thank you. If there's no further comments, with that, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, CM Martinez, for that. Okay, next item is item 12. We have our closed session. In accordance with the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1, Part H7, attorney-client privileged discussion regarding threatened and pending litigation in which the city of Espanola is or may become a participant, including but not limited to City of Albuquerque, City of Espanola versus Secretary TRD Taxation Revenue Department, D-202-CV-2018-08036. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So move, sir.
Second.
Motion's been made by Counselor Manny Martinez, seconded by Counselor John Ritchie. Can we please take a roll call vote, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor.
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor.
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy D. Valdez,
In favor.
Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
In favor. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The motion carries. So we are now going into executive session. We'll try to make it as short as we can. Thank you.
Counselor Martinez, you'll need to switch over to the other Zoom link I sent to you. As will you, Jonas.
Yes, thank you, Clerk.
You're welcome. No, go ahead.
Motion to come out of executive session?
Okay, we're out of executive session. There's been a motion by Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez to come out and seconded by Counselor Didi Valdez. Madam City Clerk, can we please call roll?
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez, Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
For the motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. I would just like to state for the record that no decisions were made in executive session. So now moving on to open session. Is there any motions at this time?
Motion, possible action approving mediation settlement agreement and contingency fee and release of claims on behalf of the city of Espanola in case number D-202-CV-2018-08036. Motion
Second,
to approve.
second, sir.
Thank you. Motion's been made by Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez. Counselor Manny Martinez seconded the motion. Any discussion at this time?
Under discussion, just happy to get this done with. Thanks to Regal and thanks to the firm that represented the city of Espanola. It brings back some money back into our community that is much needed, so we certainly appreciate this. $159,000 returned to the city of Espanola. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for stating the amount as well, Counselor. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, let's take a roll call vote just for clarification. Madam City Clerk, if you can.
Counselor Peggy Sue Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor John L. Ritchie,
In favor.
Counselor Justin Salazar Torres,
In favor.
Counselor Manuel J. Martinez,
In favor?
Counselor Denise D. Benavides,
In favor.
Counselor Dorothy Didi Valdez, Mayor Pro Tem Dennis Tim Salazar.
In favor.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion passes unanimously. So with that stated, our agenda is complete. So at this time, 8:44 PM, we are now adjourning our city council meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work, and everyone have a good night. Thank you,
Good night.
Madam City Clerk.
Thank you.